And here we go with another Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined once again by our Sports Information Director, Donnie Netto. And Donnie, we have T.J. Oakes, the assistant baseball coach, on the show today. We were going to have head baseball coach Nick Winicky on, but last check, he was blow drying the field, right? He had a literal blow dryer out there trying to dry that thing off. But we're happy to have TJ on the show.
Yeah, it's been such a crazy spring, and you know, I don't envy Nick or Jen Miller in all of the scheduling that they've had to try and do with with cancellations and snow and rain. And we were just joking off camera. You know, the forecast for today was 3 to 5 inches of snow, and now it's down to more rain than snow. And for the first time ever, I heard a baseball coach say, "Yeah, I hope it rains." So we got to get rid of this snow so we can play some ball.
Yeah. So TJ Oakes, welcome to the show. Back here on the Cardinals Nest, assistant baseball coach, and TJ, it's mid to late April here, right? As we sit here, and you've played one date in April so far. I have to ask the obligatory question. Have you ever seen a spring like this? You've played a lot of baseball, collegiate, professional. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, this is a spring unlike anything I've ever seen. You know, we've all been growing up in the Midwest, so we know what to expect come spring in Minnesota. But this is beyond what we expect, I think.
Right, and I think too, it's obviously difficult for the coaches, and we'll get into that a little bit more here. But I'm sure you feel for your seniors. We're going to have Joe Seegers on a little bit later. He's the starting shortstop for the team, a senior, and you have so many good senior leaders, and they just haven't been able to get in the amount of games that you and they would prefer.
Yeah, that's who you really feel bad for, the seniors. You want them to go out on a great experience their senior year. And with the condensed schedule that we're going to have and playing so many games in the last 2 weeks, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But we'll try to make the most of it and make it a fun senior run for them.
And it should be. I mean, you guys, you did actually get 2 conference games in. You split with St. Thomas. Really a nice way to start the conference. And then, of course, Mother Nature decided to put you guys on hold. Talk a little bit about how you and Coach Winicky are able to keep the players focused, because you go outside, play 2 games, and now you spend another week practicing inside. How do you keep them focused so that when you do finally get to play, they're ready to go?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it is tough. We were joking yesterday about practice number 90 in the rack. And for anyone that knows, baseball inside just isn't meant to be, and there's only so much you can do. But a lot of credit goes to the guys. Joe Seegers and all the seniors are keeping the guys rallied. And they're just doing a great job of staying focused and doing the things. And I actually told the pitchers the other day about how all their hard work's going to pay off. It's going to pay off if you just keep up the grind. Just keep going, keep staying focused every day, and it will pay off. Everyone wants it to pay off right now, but it'll pay off down the road. But all the credit goes to the seniors and keeping the guys focused and rallied.
TJ, what have the coaches been able to do to keep things fresh and keep things fun with all of the indoor practices?
Yeah, we always talk about control what we can control. And obviously Mother Nature, the weather, is something we can't control. So we can't focus on that. We got to focus what we can do. But to go off of that, we've just been trying to change things up. For example, the other day, Coach Winicky had a practice plan up and running, and before practice, he ripped it up. So guys, we've done this plan so many times this year, let's do something different. We played opposite-handed T-ball. So stuff like that, keep them energized, keep them refreshed, keep them focused. So.
And one of the things that I've always marveled with baseball and softball is that you guys take such an ownership in your field. And now tomorrow's practice will be a little bit different in that you're going to trade in your bats for shovels, because you're going to shovel the field in hopes that maybe you guys could actually play this weekend.
Absolutely. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to take pride in how your field looks. It's what's best for the conference. We're trying this weekend to get as many games as possible for everyone in the conference, and if that means we have to shovel off our field and have teams come and play us at our field, that's what we're going to do. So we're looking out at what's best for us, but also what's best for the whole conference in general.
Yeah, TJ, you got to dust off that contract and take a look at the job description and see if shoveling snow was part of
other
that.
duties
as a sign. That's right.
So it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Now, of course, we talked about the St. Thomas doubleheader that you were able to get in here in the month of April. Before that, you were able to get down to Florida and play some games. So tell us about that trip and what you learned about the team from the Florida trip.
I honestly thought it was a very, very good trip for us. The record might not show it, but I think we finished 4-6, but every game was competitive. Take out the first 2 games, we were in every single game. Played some really tough competition. We're in some very tight games, and honestly, a couple of those games felt like playoff games right off the bat. Just intense, every pitch on the line, and that's what you want. And that's what's going to prepare you down the road. You know, we always preach that you want to be playing your best ball down the road, and those games early in the year prepare you for that. So to be in those intense situations early on really prepares you for down the road. And I thought we played very well, and we're in every game. And you know, even after the Florida trip, I think I counted the other day, 8 out of our 17 games have been decided by 1 or 2 runs. You know, so we're in every single game. And that's all you can ask coming in, you know, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but all you can ask is for your team to be in the game in the last inning, and that's what we've been able to do all year.
You know, and one of your main focuses obviously is the pitchers, and with the pitching that you're getting, you're going to be in every single game. You talk about, you know, the performance of Ryan Wolf in Game 2 against St. Thomas. He throws a 4-hit shutout, a 1-0 victory. Awesome performance by him, but you've got a number of pitchers that are really kind of stepping up and keeping you in games, giving you that chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Our starting pitching has been phenomenal so far this year, and that's what baseball is, starting pitching and defense. If you can throw the ball over plate and play defense, you're going to have a chance in every game. That's what we've been able to do, starting with the freshman James Green. His first 3 outings were unbelievable. You know, you can't expect that as a freshman, but he exceeded our expectations. Ryan Wolf's been unbelievable the last couple of weeks, but I always talk about it's our pitching staff, it's our numbers, it's our ERA, it's our strikeouts, because you know everybody knows that a pitcher can't do it by himself. It's the defense. You got to score runs. Your catch partner. I always tell your catch partner is just crucial to what you do every single day when you're on the mound. Because if your catch partner is constantly throwing over your head and you can't get a good game of catching, that's going to translate to your results on the mound. So I always talk about, I don't want to single people out too often because it's us as a pitching staff. We have 16 pitchers on the staff, and we all contribute to our ERA, whether they're on the mound or not. And I think I want to make that a point of emphasis of, you know, I always talk about ours and not single people.
Sure. And this seems to be one of the years, at least in recent memory for me, is that you have such depth in your pitchers. You know, you've got some great starting pitchers, but your middle relievers, your closers, I mean, you've got a lot of depth that you can go to, especially as you mentioned, with all of these games that are going to be so condensed. That depth is going to help you.
Exactly. If there's ever a year that this was going to happen, I think this is the year, because I think this is my 3rd year, and this is by far the deepest pitching staff we've had in my 3 years, and I think it's by far. So it's, like I said, if there's ever a year this is going to happen, we'll bring it on this year. So.
You know, you brought up the importance of defense to the pitching staff earlier, and nobody better to have at shortstop, right, than Joe Seegers. And we'll be bringing Joe on in just a few minutes here, but talk about his leadership just from a defensive standpoint. Last year he was first team all defense in the conference. He's back at shortstop again this year, and clearly that's sort of the quarterback position of a baseball team,
exactly.
Right?
Seegers is unbelievable over there. You know, whenever the ball's hit over that side, we know the play is going to be made. Between Seegers and Will Matthews over at third, we know the plays are going to be made. He's unbelievable, you know. And not only on the field, off the field, I think is even more special. Not a lot of people get to see him on the field, but not a lot of people know what he does off the field as far as leadership. And he's probably one of the most dedicated kids I've ever coached, as far as putting in the work in the off season, and his work ethic and his leadership abilities is unbelievable. So he's getting rewarded for his play on the field for what he does off the field.
You know, you don't want to give him a big head because he does have to come and sit there. But you know, one of the things I've noticed about Joe, and really I noticed about just about everybody on your team, is there's always a smile on their face. I mean, they truly love to play the game. I mean, when we came into the studio here, we said hi to Joe. There's this big giant, you know, grin on his face, and I mean, he just seems to enjoy what he's doing, and it seems that your whole team is that way.
Yeah, it starts with Seegers, and it rubs off on the rest of the team. Like you said, always a smile on his face. Whether he's having a good day or a bad day, he brings the best out of everyone. I think that's what you got to ask for out of the leader of your team, to bring a positive vibe to everyone, and especially this year, when we've had to face adversity. But I always tell our guys that, you know, this adversity we're facing now is going to help them out in life. You're going to face something down the road in life, and you're going to come back to this season, and know how to fight through some tough stuff that happens. So we translate a lot to what happens on the baseball field to life, and I think Seegers is a prime example of that, and I think it carries over the rest of our team.
TJ, just a couple of minutes left here. As we look forward now, let's assume we'll actually play some baseball, okay? So what do you see as the biggest challenges with the condensed schedule? What are some things you're going to have to talk to the team about? I mean, I know part of it is, there's only a couple of weeks left, right? And then the conference tournament has to be held, and none of that can get pushed back. So what are some of the challenges? There's the classroom issues, of course, but then also just from a game standpoint.
Yep, staying on top of your schoolwork's number one, because we're going to be playing a lot of games here in the last 2 weeks. So staying on top of your schoolwork, especially going into finals. And then just being prepared for your opportunity. Because like Donnie's already said, that we're going to need probably more pitchers than we anticipated throwing this year. So are you ready when we put you in a game? And that's where all the drill work that we do in practice and every single day of just staying prepared for that opportunity. So when you get that opportunity, you're ready for it. So that would be the biggest challenge of guys that we didn't anticipate playing might have to play, and they're going to have to step up for us.
With your experience at the U and the kind of schedule you had to play, as you mentioned, staying up on your schoolwork, are you able to kind of give your athletes some tips in how to do that? Because obviously when you played for the Gophers, you were traveling a lot, trying to get schoolwork in. Are you able to give them some pointers in terms of how to do that?
Yeah, like for an example, this week when we didn't have any games and we gave them a couple days off and said, catch up on your work. Look ahead to see what you have for the next 2 weeks, and maybe you can get a paper out of the way, or maybe you can get a chapter of a book out of the way. Just looking ahead and getting ahead of the work. And then also just using your time throughout the day. Instead of, like we talked about yesterday, instead of taking a nap or playing video games, you might have to spend an hour on homework in the middle of the day right before practice. Maybe that's the last thing you want to do, but you got to get it done. So it's just about managing your time, especially when you get in crunch time here. Using your 20, 30 minutes in the day and then getting ahead when we don't have games.
All right, TJ, I know you've got to go grab another hair dryer and help Nick dry that field off so you can play some baseball this weekend.
Absolutely.
So.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. TJ Oaks, our assistant baseball coach at St. Mary's. Stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. Joe Seegers, the starting shortstop on the team, will join us next here on HBC.
With our partnership with HBC, we were able to now be a smart gigabit community with US Ignite and the National Science Foundation. All their other partners are large metropolitan urban areas, Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. And because of the broadband connectivity provided by HBC, we are a community lead for this initiative where we're going to be able to bring next-gen technology and stay competitive in the 21st century economy.
Providing opportunities for residential and business customers, HBC is leadership in your community.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest. We continue our focus on baseball this week here on HBC, and Joe Seegers, the starting senior shortstop, joining us on the program. Joe, thanks for being on the Cardinals Nest. And you heard all those great things that Coach Oaks said about you, right? And you said, yeah, that's all right.
Oh yeah, that's all me.
Before we get into how the baseball season is going here, or not going in some circumstances with the weather and everything, let's learn more about you. You're from the Economowalk area in Wisconsin, right? So tell us about
five O's.
Yeah, five O's.
Five O's.
Tell us how you ended up at St. Mary's and really how you got your start playing baseball.
So growing up, my dad played baseball. He actually played baseball at Wisconsin. So baseball has always kind of been the sport in our family. And then growing up, he passed it down to me, played different select balls and stuff like that. And then getting recruited by Coach Winicky, loved the campus, loved the Bluffs, and just kind of felt like a home atmosphere. So that's why I decided to come here.
So it's in the blood, right?
Oh yeah, yep, it's in the blood.
The thing that I'm most curious about, and I'm hoping that you can spend some time talking about, is you were homeschooled.
Yep.
And so when was the first time you were actually in a classroom?
Actually, senior year of high school, I took a physics class at a community college. So that was my first little taste of actual classroom. So when I actually got here and all my classes, it was just a huge boom. I actually have to go to classes now.
Can you kind of explain to people, and again, because I'm interested, how does homeschooling work? How did that, how do you go to class? How does that all work?
For me, in high school, a lot of it was self-teaching, so I know how to work on my own very well. My mom would give me different algebra books and stuff like that for biology and chemistry and stuff like that. We'd actually have co-ops, we would call it, with other kids, and then moms who had backgrounds in those fields would teach us those subjects.
Did you feel at all like you were behind when you came to St. Mary's for that reason of really not having that structured classes to go to? Did it take some time to catch up a little bit?
I'd say it took me most of the first semester to kind of get into a rhythm of how to work and get things done, but ever since then, once I figured out how the rhythm really works, it wasn't too hard to get going with.
All academic, all conference too, so I'm
That's
pretty
right.
sure he got to it pretty good. Yep.
Well, and I would imagine that independent nature that you had to have growing up from a school work standpoint really is paying off when it comes to all of these makeups that you're going to have to be doing in a very short period of time here, because you will know how to stay on top of your schoolwork and sort of be independent that way, right?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps because taking advantage of, like TJ said, the little half hours and stuff like that. I always have pretty much all my books in my backpack now because you never know when you're going to study for a different class. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then you played ball with a homeschool team, correct? It was all kids that were homeschooled.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my freshman year, or growing up, I played for different select teams, but I played basketball for our homeschool organization. So I knew a lot of the kids through that, and then eventually in high school, I joined. We're called the Swisha Saints. It stands for Southwestern Christian Homeschool Athletics. So we played all the local high school teams. We actually, for our homeschooled World Series that we call it, we played down in Auburndale, Florida, where we actually play now. So I've been playing there for 8 years.
And what are you majoring in at St. Mary's, and what do you hope to do here in the near future?
Right now I'm majoring in business management and minoring in accounting, but what I want to do with that is eventually become a professor and teach business classes.
All right, so you've seen the life of the professor, right? And you're like, that's not so bad, right?
Yeah, right.
He likes to have summers off is what he likes. He's got to play baseball in the summers. So,
Exactly.
Joe, can you talk a little bit about the season? As we were talking to Coach Oakes about, it's been a very difficult year in that you just haven't been able to continually play. As from your standpoint, how have you guys been able to kind of stay on top of that?
I mean, I think the practices that we have been a lot of fun, and I've always tried to keep the energy up, and so far the whole year everybody's been on board with getting on the energy and making sure that we try to have the best practices that we have. I'd say in the 4 years I've been here, this has been the group that has always come to practice ready to get after it, even with not being able to play outside or play very many games too.
You know, certainly this is not the senior season,
Right.
that you envisioned maybe at the start or back in January when practice started. Talk about your emotions and how you're sort of trying to deal with the very changed season due to the weather and the fact that you're going to have to try to cram everything in here at the end.
Well, it almost feels like playing back when I was like 10 years old with tournaments just piling up. Like you'd play 5 games in a day. So, I mean, it's almost like a little kid atmosphere when you don't really know when you're playing, but you're just going to be playing a ton and you're just playing with your best friends. So
It's not hard for you to stay ready, right? I mean, you're ready. You could play right now if they told you could play right now.
For sure.
How have you thought at all in terms of kind of alluding to what Dean was saying? Have you thought at all about, in 2.5 weeks, the end of the regular season? Because I'm confident that there's going to be more, but that this is going to be it. This is, you're kind of coming to the end of your collegiate career. Has that sunk in at all?
I don't think it has. I'm still on a pretty big high. I'm still just wanting to play games, so I don't think it's really hit me. I'm sure when we get down to it, it'll start becoming more real. But
when you write your senior salute, that's when it'll become real.
That's right.
Yeah, I've been putting that one off. That's one thing that I have been
I'm
putting
pretty
off.
sure everybody's been putting that off.
Well, Joe, you heard T.J. talk about how the team has been doing so far. Give us the player analysis. How did things go in Florida? What did you see as sort of one of the senior leaders on the team, and the few games that you have gotten in since you've been back? What are some things that you're liking?
Well, definitely all the competition that we played for having those close games was definitely helpful. It helped us with the St. Thomas game, being in that close, tight ball game. A lot of freshmen and a lot of kids that we didn't really envision stepping up have definitely stepped up, so that has been really cool to see. And everybody just being on board as a team, nobody's really hooting and hollering who gets the credit, but everybody is on the board with the team.
Yeah, good. Now, you're batting .375 this year, so you're off to a great start offensively. But I know, and we talked about this again with Coach Oakes, you pride yourself on your defense. All MIAC defense last year. How do you see the two, the offense, defense, kind of as one, or do you really try to pride yourself defensively?
No, I'd say both.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest switch from the past 3 years for me to this year is just how much more mental prepping I've been doing before games, and over the summer too. I really tried to hone in on what my approach would be every single at bat and take it as every single at bat. But defense, yeah, I do pride myself on my defense.
All right.
And you've spent a lot of time at shortstop. It's got to become a little bit. It's not an easy position, but easier because you're more comfortable, because you just can, you know when Coach Winnicky fills out the lineup card where you're going to be playing. There isn't a lot of switching in terms of that. You are that shortstop. Does that make it easier to approach every game?
Well, I'd say that guys can always come and take your spot. So there's always guys constantly who push me every single day, and that's why I practice as hard as I do. But I just have the confidence that I know that I should be out there, and I know that I can help our team win, and I think that's what kind of gives me more of that edge.
Dean's looking at stats here, and Coach Oakes has talked a lot about it's our team, it's our ERA, it's our batting average. What role do the coaches play? Talk a little bit about their impact on the success of this team.
They impact us so much from not just a baseball standpoint, but like TJ said, a lot of life lessons have been learned over the 4 years from different things that we've had to deal with, different issues that have come up. We've been able to take what they have told us and apply it to real life. There was one time my mom and I were driving back to campus, and she said something. I was like, actually, I have a different perspective on that because of what we've talked about in practices and things like that.
Now we talk a lot, Coach Oakes, Coach Winnicky, but you have two other assistant coaches, and Coach Whaley and Coach Kronebusch. Talk about their impact. What do they bring to this team? I know from a standpoint of one is pretty happy-go-lucky, very similar to you, always a smile on his face. The other one is very stern and very very serious. But talk a little bit about those two and what they bring.
Yeah, Coach Whaley definitely always brings a good energy, and whenever we see him, we're always saying hi to him, and he's always with the catchers and loves to get them going too. But Crone and I actually have a pretty special relationship. He calls me Big Old Smile, and I
wonder why.
he always leads the stretching, and whenever we do jumps, and then right after jumps we do some leg stretching. And I always say thank you when we're done with the jumps, because I like getting those ones over with. So I can put a smile on his face.
You're probably one of the only people that can.
Joe, I want to close things out with a couple of personal questions, if you don't mind. Now, you've got a younger brother, right? Michael is his name?
Yep.
I understand there might have been a time where he literally pushed you into a lake.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that. I want to hear more about Michael's pushing of Joe into the lake.
Wow, where'd you get that story
I
from?
don't know. Don't give
Is
up
that
your
for my
sources.
sister?
Can't tell you that. I can't reveal my sources.
Yeah, we were fishing. I don't remember why he decided that was a good idea to do that, but yeah, he pushed me right into the lake, and I was not happy. And
There was no smile on your face.
No, there was no
right?
smile. Beat him up a little bit after that.
So you got a little payback.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, while you brought up Mary, tell us just a little bit more about Mary. She's a freshman at St. Mary's, and I have her in class this semester. But what can you tell us about Mary?
Mary's a hard worker like me, and I love having her on campus. We do family lunch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's fun having her on campus.
Yeah, good. So, all right, that's going to do it. Joe Seegers, thanks for
Thank you for
being
having
on the
me.
Cardinals Nest here, and good luck. You're going to get games in soon, so
for
good
sure.
luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you.
So, all right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest on HBC.
Elevate your TV experience with HBC. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously. Wireless set-top boxes, 350 hours of storage, in-home streaming, Alexa, Netflix, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more, or visit hbci.com/elevate.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest as we look to wrap up this episode here on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman along with my co-host, Sports Information Director Donnie Netto. And Donnie, we just heard from Joe Seegers and T.J. Oaks from the baseball team, and it's kind of become the story on campus, really, from a sports standpoint. The softball team, they've been at least able to get in some games, as we've talked about here on the show, in the Rochester Dome. Baseball doesn't have that luxury. Wherever you go, when people talk athletics, they always bring up the baseball team, right?
Yep, no question. And you do feel for the baseball team because they really haven't had the opportunity to play. I mean, because of the weather. Like you said, softball has been able to play in the domes. They'll play outside tomorrow at St. Thomas. It's supposed to be a home game, but of course, because of the weather, they'll be at St. Thomas. And then Saturday and Sunday, they'll both be in the Augsburg Dome. So they'll have played 10, 12, 14 of their last 18 games will be in the domes. So at least they're getting the games in. It's not the same as playing outside, but at least they are getting the games in. Baseball doesn't have that luxury. Tennis is able to play indoors. They've been able to keep their schedule pretty much right on. And even track and field is being affected by the weather. They were supposed to be at the Phil Eston Challenge on Friday. That's been moved back to Saturday. So even the track and field teams are having troubles getting their events in when they're scheduled. So it's been a crazy winter, spring, and probably in my 23 years, probably the most bizarre one I've experienced.
Just a couple of seconds here, Donnie. Laura Sunday, huge #1 singles victory in women's tennis to propel the team to a victory.
No question, 6-4, 6-4 at #1. She's now won 11 straight singles matches. She's just been a rock at #1 singles and really is doing a great job. Cardinals are still in the hunt for a playoff. They need a big weekend this weekend against Hamlin and St. Ben's, and then they've got to wait a week as the rest of the conference finishes up their schedules to see if they make the playoffs or not. But they're right in the hunt right now, and Laura is a big reason for that.
All right, that's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.